Hey there. I hope you are doing well. I am starting to record this podcast for you, but I need to tell you two things on the front end. One is that allergy season is among us, and I am. I'm feeling it. So you may hear me clearing my throat a lot, and I apologize just on the front end so I don't have to do it many times through this episode. Also, there is someone in our neighborhood, apparently. People are going door to door doing something out there. You might hear my dog barking or me getting distracted. And rather than try to wait till all that ends, because I have a deadline today, I'm just going to apologize ahead of time if you hear my dog. You know what? This podcast is about being real and authentic and not perfect. And I normally would not even attempt this right now with all that going on. And today I'm pushing past my need for perfectionism, for making sure that, everything is just right. And letting you hear and see the most authentic Jenny. And it's perfect timing because today we're going to talk about our sovereignty. If you haven't been following along, you may want to go back a few of our episodes because they're building on one another. If you don't want to do that, you'll get caught up pretty quick today about what we're actually talking about. But we're going to be talking about what's the noise that's beneath the silence and what is revealed when we rest. And when that noise fades, how do we face what's below that silence? What do we do when we get underneath the stillness? The stillness that is, for most of us, something pretty uncomfortable if it means that we're going to be meeting ourselves square in the mirror without any distractions. Everything that we've been avoiding gets to surface as true. It's a truth wanting to be heard. When we get beyond the busyness and what our mind has been telling us, then we get to face parts of ourselves that frankly needed our attention. That moment that comes after the rush of busyness or what we do to cope and how we submerge our emotions, they emerge in the quiet, which is why we fill our white space, why we don't like stillness, why we are uncomfortable getting quiet. And I mean really quiet, still, for a long period of time so that it's safe for the truth to come out from behind the curtain. So this episode 4, is where sovereignty stops being a concept or an idea that we talk about. It's not something that when someone says, "How's your sovereignty?" that you say, "Oh, it's good, it's intact," without really understanding the depth of that question and encountering your sovereignty. Because that's what we're doing. We're going face to face with our own sovereignty once we slow down. And so today, the title of this episode, What Comes Up When You Finally Slow Down? So hello, my beautiful friends, and I'm so grateful to have you here with me. I cannot even tell you how much it means to me when I hear from someone who was really impacted by one of our podcast episodes. And my goodness, we're in the 50s of episodes right now. I can't believe I had that much to share, but apparently I do. And I love hearing from you. I love being on this journey with you. So, please do take time to reach out to me if there's a question or if there's something I can do to help you on your journey through the exploration of your own sovereignty. So let's stop right now and just take a breath with me. Just a quiet, big, slow inhale, expanding your lungs your diaphragm, and then holding at the top and then exhaling even longer and slower as you feel your body just fall into a state of relaxation. And if you can, while I begin this podcast, take another 2 of those big, deep breaths. Slowly, deeply inhaling, bringing your breath up as high as it can go, pausing at the top, and then another long, slow exhale. Just feel your body release. And it's important to do this because today we're stepping into something that just on the get-go sounds simple, but it really isn't. It's all about slowing down, not the kind where you just sit down, but your mind is still racing, and not the kind where your body is still, but your nervous system is still scanning, asking, is it safe? Is it safe? What's going to happen? Is the other shoe going to drop? You know, what's about to happen? You better get ready. And when your nervous system, it has a voice, and I don't think that I knew that, but our brain has enough monkey mind going on that we could sit and listen to all of our thoughts all day long. I forget the number of how many thoughts is the average person think in a day. It's astounding. And so we have thoughts upon thoughts, right? And when we finally settle our brain and quiet our mind and sit in the silence and sit in the stillness, then we have our nervous system start to get activated, right? It's when we hear our nervous system and we literally act upon it. Our nervous system is what makes us jump up and say, oh, I forgot I need to have a candle. Oh, I forgot I was going to get a cup of tea. And then we're like 30 minutes later getting back to our 40-minute meditation and sitting still for 10 minutes without calming ourselves, calming and reassuring ourselves that it's safe to be in the silence. It's safe to encounter our sovereignty. So, in this series, we've talked about how we create urgency in our life. And the urgency usually ends up being things that take us out of time spent with ourselves, right? There's something important I have to do before I can get to that. And we've talked about the power of resting, just letting our body and our mind and our spirit rest with a walk in nature, a nap, reading a book, hearing the rain hit the window. That's not encountering sovereignty. It's just allowing our body. Our nervous system doesn't know what it's like to rest unless we create the environment for it to do so. And so this podcast is about once we do rest and slow down and listen, what gets revealed. There's a moment, and you may have felt this before, where everything does get quiet, but instead of feeling the peace of the stillness that you're in, something else shows up. That nervous system response is the noise beneath that silence. And we might think we're tired because we need to rest, but sometimes we're tired because we've been running from something. And it's hard to outrun something that we're carrying inside ourselves. So when we finally stop whatever we've been running from, well, it ends up that it's right there, staring back at us, not in a dramatic way and not always through a breakdown or a breakthrough. Sometimes it just shows up as a feeling, a heaviness, a restlessness, or a thought that you didn't expect. And you start to think, why do I feel worse now that I've slowed down? It's because the noise didn't go away. It just got quiet enough for you to hear what was underneath it. Ernest Holmes says, what you resist persists. We've heard that probably our whole life. What does it mean? When you have something like trauma that's underneath the noise and you resist it, what happens is it persists. It's knocking at the door of the window to your soul. It's out there saying, "Hey, don't resist. Come look at me." Because what Ernest Holmes says after that is what you look at will disappear. So while we're busy not naming the elephant in the room, our power lies in turning around, looking at it, feel the feeling you didn't want to feel, cry the tears that you didn't want to cry, face the anger that has been brewing for a long time, but do it with safety, do it with reverence, treat it as something sacred. When we are constantly doing something, we can't do this work. You might be scrolling or working or planning or creating or fixing. If you're doing any of those things, right, you're just creating just enough noise to not hear yourself, your soul, to hear what needs to be healed. And our nervous system collects big and small events through our whole lives. And the older we get, the more it's stored. It's like a storage unit of trauma. And at some point that storage unit is full. And then what happens? When you can't put any more in it and more is coming at you. As I was preparing this podcast, which is an exploration into my own sovereignty, I'm going to share with you some of my most tender inner world. It's the most tender parts of me where I'm most vulnerable. It might be where the Jenny that you know, or the Jenny you listen to if we haven't met yet, or the Jenny that you imagine me to be, well, she might surprise you. It did me. It's funny how easy it can be to tell ourselves that we're doing fine, everything's fine. But when then you go inward and you get quiet and you discover, once you finally slow down, what you've been avoiding, what you've been running from, what comes up for you when you finally slow down. For me, this is where sovereignty begins to shift, because now I'm not imagining it's okay. I'm not managing my life anymore. I'm actually meeting it. I'm meeting it head on, so that when the noise fades, I get to face what's been waiting for me. What has been waiting for you inside? What's been inside your nervous system, inside your heart, waiting for you to notice grief, sadness, disappointment? What's there? Not what's on your to-do list, but what's been waiting for you inside. For me, when the noise faded, what showed up for me was a lot of unprocessed grief. And it's not grief just from someone dying. It's grief for what no longer is. And that can be a relationship that changed, a friendship that ended. It can be a period of my life that I loved that can never be duplicated or replaced. It can mean that I look back and think, was I already living the best days of my life? Sometimes it feels that way to me. Maybe my best is behind me. What's that mean for what's ahead of me? Facing things like that was a lot of unprocessed grief because I journal, and I'll tell you more about that in a minute, in order to process it. And I spent days working through unprocessed grief, feeling it, acknowledging it, accepting the truth of where I am right here in this moment, being fully present to the truth of what is. I discovered I had some old resentments. I found fear that I had never really acknowledged before. I found an ache so deep in my heart that it just felt like I was poking on a very, very tender bruise. What truth have you perhaps been avoiding? The absence of someone you love, a season of life that you've been resisting, a season of life that you didn't expect to change and it did overnight. Sometimes that feels like shock. Sometimes it feels like shock. I don't know another word. Shock is a form of trauma, right? It jolts your nervous system into a new reality, a before it and an after it. What's your before and after moments? Those moments where your life took a right turn, where your life went sideways or upside down, never to return again to what was. We get stuck there in our grief. We get stuck there in our trauma or shock. We get stuck in our resentment and anger. We get stuck in our fear, not knowing that while it took a right turn, where you were headed is no longer the direction you're going anymore. And that reality can make you ache inside for what was. But if you look ahead, when you turn right unexpectedly, well, you might be driving straight into a sunrise, into a day that is the beginning of the best days of your life. But when you're stuck, you don't see that. And when you're exploring all of that emotion buried underneath the noise, it doesn't come with a label on it. It just shows up, and it's usually a feeling. We're so good at avoiding those low energy, low frequency feelings. They don't feel good ever. Anger might feel good because anger is a one-up energy and it can feel empowering. It can feel like you have a false sense of control. But even that doesn't last. Your psyche is not trying to hurt you. It's trying to integrate truth into your reality. Everything that surfaces in those moments is just simply asking that it be witnessed, that it be acknowledged, that it's up to you to put a name on it. This is my grief, and I am strong enough to feel it. This is my anger, and I'm strong enough to make sure it does no harm, but it gets to be witnessed. This is my resentment because justice wasn't served in that situation. Truth wasn't revealed. or honored. All of it is just asking you, name it, look at it, witness it, feel it, fully feel the feelings, and assign no meaning. Don't let the story get you all wrapped up again, because the story is where you're going to stay stuck. And most of this stuff buried underneath isn't putting you in a position of empowerment. It's making it feel like you're in a position of victimhood. And honestly, at least most people that do this work, most of you that are sitting here listening to me, aren't going to embrace victimhood in your life. You were made for more. It's not a judgment of those that live from victimhood. It's just that you are made for more. You can't move forward with one foot in a boat called victim. It will capsize. Like attracts like. So if you live from victimhood, you attract more and more reason to be right about it. That's a universal law. So spiritual psychology teaches us that it is our birthright to integrate truth into our reality. It is our duty to honor that truth. When our life gets turned upside down and everything precious to you is in a free fall, it's not the time to do this work. You have to do what you have to do to survive your life turning upside down, to survive a trauma, a sudden loss, an ache that leaves you dumbfounded. You have to experience it. But all along the way, after you land on your feet and you begin rebuilding your life after, well, that's where this work means everything. It changes everything. Rumi says, the wound is the place where the light enters you. And that's so true. Where we have that wound, light enters into our soul. And light is the most healing balm there is if we see it through. Now, if somebody shines a flashlight on a wound that you have not yet healed, it doesn't feel good. It's called a trigger. We think the other person is the trigger, but they're just the light. They're just the teacher. They're just the person sent to you to expose the part of you that needs your attention. And I'm going to be really honest with you. Even among my clients, they get close to those wounds. They get close to that truth, and they don't want to stay there very long. They speed back up. They pick up the phone. They scroll. They turn on the TV. They get lost in somebody else's reality on TV. They get addicted to it, actually. They get addicted to busyness. They find something or someone else and try to fix them. Because this part right here that I'm talking about, it holds our vulnerability. It is the most tender place that you can go. What is a moment that you've experienced maybe recently where something surfaced and your instinct was to avoid it and just push it away, distract yourself? I don't have to think that far back. It can, for me, be about an hour ago. And I decided to talk about it with you instead of processing it, but I'll get to it. Processing heavy energies, stuck energies, it takes so much energy, you all. And doing this inner work, especially this particular inner work, it's exhausting. Emotions are exhausting. Have you ever had a moment where you just let yourself curl up in a ball and sob and cry, sometimes for hours? And what do you want to do next? For me, my sinuses are aching, my head is full, I can't even think clearly. And for me, I just need to go to sleep. If I can, I'll journal about it because I let whatever it is I want to feel rise up and then I capture it in my journal. And it doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to be readable. It doesn't have to be grammatically correct. I can forget to dot I's and cross T's. It can be in any tense that I want it to be. It actually can shift tenses from back then to I'll be right there again in the moment. I can talk about something that happened years ago as if it was happening all over again. And actually, that's the best way for me to re experience it and release those emotions that are stuck in it. Release all of it without attaching any meaning to it. That's the hard part because we love our stories. I love to tell the stories, and boy, sometimes we tell them and people, they protect us. They agree with us. They tell us that was wrong. They shouldn't have said that. They shouldn't have treated you that way. We get to justify the story instead of heal from it and let it teach us what it came to teach us. When we justify it, a lot of times it just endorses the victim story. We'll say things, or people will say, "You didn't deserve to be treated that way. I would never speak to my mother that way," or "I would never treat my mother-in-law that way." You always take responsibility. Why can't they? In my trauma work, I will tell you this is really tricky. When I'm on coaching calls with my clients and we're working through trauma, I have to not only let them recall the event and feel it, but get their nervous system to participate without re traumatizing them by retelling the story. And I'm so blessed to have found the spiritual psychology school that I'm in. And I'm blessed to have several opportunities, actually every week, to get E4 trauma coaching. It's hands down the best way to release stuck energy and painful stories that we energize every day through resistance to resisting acknowledging that they're even existing inside of us. But you cannot dismiss them. You have to just release them. And to release them, you have to witness them. You have to bear witness to that pain and release it without re-traumatizing. And it's very tricky. And I'm blessed to be trained as a trauma coach to be able to do that with what's called the E4 trauma method developed by Dr. Aaron Haskell. But I will tell you, when we get to that place, and if you try it on your own, which you can self-process, and if you can't, then you need to get a trauma coach to help you. Usually I get to the biggies and I see myself get up and walk away or find some reason not to go there. And I know if I can't get there, I need a trauma coach that'll walk me through it. The big stuff usually requires it. But when you get to that pain, when you get to the most tender part of your heart, when you get to the part where your nervous system says, run, don't walk, run, get up, run. You need a cup of tea. You need to return a phone call. You need to make an appointment. All the to-do list gets shouted in your head to make you go away, turn away from the pain. But I want to tell you, right there at that doorway, at that threshold, is when sovereignty, if you hear its voice, it invites us to stay, to sit with it in the stillness and the silence, knowing it isn't comfortable there because something has to be wrong for it to be there. Stillness can be very uncomfortable because something underneath it is real. And when you remove all your distractions, you're left with your thoughts. You're left with your emotions. You're left feeling where in your body that trauma lives. You're left with your truth. And for many of us, we've never actually sat with all of that without reaching for something to give us relief. Here's a trauma-informed insight that I had. That for most people, stillness doesn't feel safe. The body remembers what the mind has learned to suppress. So if this is you, just know there's nothing wrong with you. Your system is doing exactly what it was designed to do. But sovereignty, well, sovereignty is gently teaching your system how to be safe, to know it's safe now to be heard. It's safe now to be witnessed. Dr. Haskell says you do not become whole by trying to get rid of anything, but by learning to see it all as sacred. That's why I call the work I do sacred. And I've been doing this work for 2 decades. And sacred is a part of everything. At my retreats, everyone will tell you that I slap sacred on every part of what we do at retreat. The water we drink, there's sacred intention for the water. There's sacredness to our tears. There's sacredness to the oneness of our sacred circle. My logo, if you've ever seen it, is a circle. It represents everything a circle could possibly represent. The oneness, the wholeness of us as a human race, to us as women, to us as human beings. It represents connection, consciousness, all the way up to the oneness. And it is sacred. It is a sacred circle. It's a hug. Wrapping your arms around someone is sacred. It's a sacred moment. Every single moment we have is, even the ones that feel tender and vulnerable or painful or even agitating, because it's life. It's our life. It's real. It's what's happening. Right now, I'm witnessing one of my children going through a traumatic event. His whole life just turned upside down. Everything he poured himself into that mattered to him is in question. Everything he saw for his future is now uncertain. As a matter of fact, the only certainty is that it's not what it was supposed to be. As a mother, I feel it. Our DNA is connected. What his DNA experiences, I feel it in my body. When you practice presence, you feel connected to other people that share your DNA or share life experiences with you, things that you have in common, close friends. We're feeling it, and then we suppress it because it does not feel good. My heart literally breaks for my son, and it breaks for me and what it means to my grandchildren and our relationship, what it means. We're in the free fall. We're in the shock. We're in the overwhelm of it right here, right now, as I speak to you. It's like we're all falling in a free fall, not knowing where the bottom is, taking it one moment at a time, one day at a time, witnessing it, not running from it, turning toward it and allowing ourselves to process. And because of that, I've had to allow myself space to rest, to grieve, to journal, to cry, to weep, to pray, and to recognize that in that space, I get to create hope. I get to also create possibilities. And in that space, in the midst of witnessing all that, I get to dream, get to dream it all up again, even better. And he does too. But we're not trained to do that. It is not in our instinct to do that, because built into our instinct is the nervous system that scans. It says, never love again. Look what happened. It broke your heart. It blew up your family. So in your next relationship, no, never, never fully commit, fully love, fully trust someone with your life ever again. That's what your nervous system is going to tell you. And we have to go underneath that to say, but what about my sovereignty? We are here. We are here to love. We are here to learn to trust life. We are here to learn that we create it all. We are here to learn that we can heal and we can be way better than we were before. Because one, we know we can survive it. We know how to live our truth again. So let's go a little deeper if we can. Because sometimes what comes up isn't just the feeling, just the emotion, it's truth. And the truth might be, I wasn't happy in that situation. I was over-delivering. I was giving more than I was receiving. I was abandoning myself, trying to make others happy, trying to please them. I've been pretending everything's fine when everything really wasn't. This is where it gets really tender, because once you see it, you really can't unsee it. In my teaching and in my coaching, the blueprint of it is that something comes along, and I call it like the baseball bat hits you right behind the knees and knocks you down. You never saw it coming, but it wakes you up. And after you wake up and you look around and you actually see the truth you were hiding it from, you were not willing to look at, because of the consequence of truth sometimes means transition. It means upheaval. But here's another universal law of insight. It's the universal law of mental equivalent. You cannot experience something externally that you have not first allowed yourself to see internally. Which means that everything you see externally, you first created in your mind, somewhere in your mind, underneath all the busyness and all the noise and all the avoidance. there was a truth saying, this isn't working. This isn't what I want. It's not working for me to compromise myself any longer. So when truth rises, it's not there to disrupt your life. It's there to realign it. Ernest Holmes says man's mind is God's workshop. Man's mind is God's workshop. So, wow. Are the thoughts I'm thinking mine? Or God's? Or my higher power source? What is it? Who's creating this? And why would God create something so disruptive, so painful, so hurtful if He's a loving, benevolent God? How often do we come at the crossroads of that very question? I know in my life, I've been there, and I can't say why, but deep in my soul, in the echo chamber of my deepest wound, I can't get away from the fact that it has to be for something good. I believe in the good. I do believe that. I believe in the good of everyone, even if it's buried underneath this thing we call life. I've had so many moments where a truth surfaced and it changed something in me internally and then externally. So sovereignty asks you, will you honor what you see, or will you go back to sleep? I invite you to wake up. Wake up to what you know is true. Quit putting icing on it and calling it a cupcake. What truth in your life are you unwilling to address? What do you fear will happen? Your worst nightmare? Maybe. Because your worst nightmare was a thought you had. Your biggest and brightest chapter? Maybe. If you energize it. There's layers to this. There's layers. It goes deeper and deeper, and beneath it all, it's not just what's hurting you, but what is calling you. Because when you slow down long enough, when you sit in the stillness long enough, you don't just feel and hear and witness the pain, but underneath that, you hear truth. And underneath that, you discover a desire. And underneath that, you're invited to align, to get into alignment. You hear the voice that says, hey, Jenny, fear not. There's more waiting for you, and it's good. And that voice, it's never loud. Sometimes I wish it would shout at me so that I could just get through all the other quicker. It doesn't compete with my urgency. It doesn't compete with my busyness. It doesn't compete with the silence I desire when I lay down to rest. Sometimes it says, do that first. I'm here. I'll wait. And when you give me enough space, we'll do the work. Ernest Holmes, who you hear me quote a lot, one of our new thought leaders from, the early 1900s. Ernest Holmes says, there is a power for good in the universe, and it's greater than you are, and you can use it. I want to say that again to you, because I went deep and tender and heavy in this. There is a power for good in the universe, and it's greater than you are, and you can use it. Here's the part most people miss. That voice, that voice that says there's a good in the universe that's greater than you are, and you can use it. It's been there all along, like Dorothy's ruby slippers. You've had it all along. You just couldn't hear it over the noise. And you might still have more noise saying, yeah, well, look how well that worked. You know what? There are so many chapters ahead of you unwritten that you don't know the rest of the story. You don't. But what you also don't know is that you can create it. You create those chapters. You are the author of your life. Yes, there's a plan. Yes, many people believe that, there's a plan already in place. And some people say, so what's the point? We're puppets on a string. No, that's not how this works. That's just the noise. That's just you convincing yourself all the reasons to stay stuck. And you guys, this is such an important time in history. You hear it, you see it. If you scroll, you read it. We're at a very crucial point in our timeline as humans. Humanity is only going to survive if and when we answer the call, if and when we say, I believe in the good. I'm going to create my life from that. I have the power to access that good and use it to create a life for the good of others and myself, for my children, for my friends, for my family, right now for humanity itself. Not to be dramatic, but some days the world out there, that external feedback loop, makes me wonder, is the darkness overtaking us? It can't. If we shine our light brighter, it cannot extinguish our light unless we surrender and forfeit to it, which means we give up our power. We give up the power to use what's in the universe that is for good. And it's here for good. It's here for good. It's underneath the noise, you all. We have to go deep, deep into our psyches to claim the power, to let the light shine through all the bullet holes we've taken in life so far. Clarity is not going to come from doing more and busying ourselves and avoiding it. Clarity is going to come when we slow down, when we face the hard moments head on, when we listen to what emerges in the quiet, when we are willing to witness what happens after we feel the discomfort, after we process the emotions, after we face the truth, after we listen to the stillness, and something new begins to emerge, not by force, not by urgency, not by pressure, through clarity and calm. And here's the key. Listen carefully. By choice. This is where we meet our sovereignty. Not trying to control everything, but being deeply connected to ourself, so that our choices come from truth, not reaction. Our choices come from a belief that we have the power to do good, to create something good. And from here, we don't move faster. We move clearer. You stop abandoning yourself. You stop overriding what you think you know. You stop filling your life with noise just to avoid what truly matters to you. It's so important to get there, you guys. It's hard. It's hard. It's a long trail of twists and turns. It takes time. Daily, dedicating time daily to doing this work, this excavation. It's like the people that you read about that are doing excavation. They're taking a broom and dusting off rocks and finding out it's just the side of what used to be a wall, of what used to be a civilization. That's what it's like when we go inside. We have to go through our walls. We have to go through doorways, thresholds. We have to walk through the portals of our wounds. We have to heal and clean them up and get rid of the toxicity that's been building up inside. We have to take care of our body, our mind, our spirit, our psyche. We have to go to places inside ourselves we didn't even know exists. So today I want to leave you with something simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Can you start to create just a little more space in your life? Not to fill it with anything, not to fix anything, not to figure everything out. Just notice what's there. Because what comes up when you slow down is not there to break you. It's there to bring you back home. It's there to bring you back to your house, to yourself. Let's take a deep breath. Put your hand to your heart if that feels good. Breathe in and out. Let these words of truth enter in to your soul, to your psyche. You're right where you're supposed to be. You're not broken. You're not behind. You're not imperfect. You're not someone who needs fixed. You're simply becoming aware. And awareness is where everything begins. Where we're going next is that truth. Where we go next in our next episode is about awareness. And it's not as hard to listen to as this one was, because awareness, oh, it's so powerful. It's also a crossroads. It's where you can see something really clearly and you can't unsee it anymore. And you still can see how easy it is to go back to the old patterns. You can feel the truth and you can still override it. You can know and not change anything. We're going to talk about what all that actually means to honor what shows up, not to fix it, not to bypass it, not to turn it into a project, but how to stay with yourself when it's easier to abandon yourself. How to make decisions from truth instead of from fear, even when you're aware that's what you're doing. We're going to talk about how to begin to align your life with what you're now aware of. Because this part that we're going into is where sovereignty stops being something that you understand, but something you embody. It becomes the way you live. So you're not going to want to miss our next episode. We covered a lot today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for letting your mind wander into this deep, dark tunnel that exists inside. Thank you for being curious enough about your own sovereignty to let truth knock on its door. Thank you for doing the work. We made it through this episode without too many clearing my throats. We made it through without Penny joining in by barking. I hope you will end this episode with some deep breath and some contemplation. I hope you will make that time today and this next couple weeks to journal, to explore, to ask questions, to be curious. It's a beautiful journey. The tapestry of our life is filled with vibrant color and contrasts with darkness, and it's all sacred. All of it. Treat it that way. I'm sending you so much love. I'll see you in the next episode. Take care.